Good morning, students. In last video we discussed about question answer. Today I am going to continue same question answer of chapter 4 standard 6 SS. Okay. Now our next question is why the primitive man who was a hunter and preserved food who was a hunter and preserved food lived in caves. Caves means gufa. Why he was living in caves? In caves means gufa. Okay. Now why the primitive man who was a hunter and preserved food lived in a cave? Answer: the primitive man who was a hunter and preserver of food. The primitive man was a hunter and a preserver of food, lived in caves to protect himself from wild animals, cold and rain. Got it? Why? To protect himself from wild animals, cold and rain. Got it? Once again, the primitive man who was a hunter and a preserver of food lived in caves to protect himself from wild animals, cold and rain. Got it? Now next question. From which material? From which material did the primitive man make his tools? We know he was making tools. Okay. So from which material? Okay. From which material did the primitive man make his tools? Now answer is here. The primitive man made his tools. The primitive man made his tools from stones, wood, and bones. Okay. Once again, from where? From which material? From stone, wood, and bones. Got it? The primitive man made his tools from stone, wood, and bones. Okay. Next question. For what purpose? For what purpose did the primitive man use his tools? He made tools, but for what purpose he was using these tools? Okay, he made tools from wood, bones, and stone. But for what purpose? We know he was a hunter, so automatically for hunting. Okay, even he wanted to make one. Shelter. Okay, so to make residence we can consider. Okay, so for many purposes he was using tools. Okay, for what purpose did the primitive man use his tools? Okay, answer is the primitive man used his tools. The primitive man used his tools for hunting. For hunting means that shikar karvo. Okay, for hunting. Second thing, making residence and some other facilities. Got it? Once again, the primitive man used his tools for hunting, making residence and some other facilities. My dear student, my next question is how do we come to know how do we come to know about the primitive man's knowledge of lighting fire? Okay, how we come to know that he had the knowledge of fire? Okay, my dear student, when I explained, okay, when he was rubbing stone, he got the fire. Okay, but we have some evidence, proof. Okay, from proof we can prove that he had the knowledge of fire. So how do we come to know about the primitive man's knowledge of lighting fire? We have got some proof. We have got some proof about the knowledge of fire, and because of that we can we have to prove. Okay, without proof we cannot say anything. So here answer is answer you will get the remnants of ash. The remnant of ash. Ash means rak, rakhya, rak. Okay. The remnant of ash are found from the places. From which places? The remnant means the proof. Okay, are found from the places where the primitive man lived, where he was living. From that he got some proof. We have got some proof about the ash. Okay, so we come to know that he had the knowledge of fire. We come to know from this. We come to know from this that the primitive man might have had the knowledge of lighting fire. We have got the proof of ash where he lived, where he was living. From that place we got the proof, remnants of ash. And from that thing we come to know about that he had the knowledge of fire. Got it? Once again, the remnants of ash are found from the places where the primitive man lived. And we come to know about this that the primitive man might have had the knowledge of lighting fire. Got it? Now next question is, when did the primitive man use vehicles and how? Okay, after the invention of wheel, after the invention of wheel, okay, he come to know about the wheel, okay, and we know when he got the idea about when he was on the slope and the one log of wood was just running from top to bottom, and he got the idea of wheel, okay. So here, when did the primitive man use vehicles? How? The primitive man used vehicles after the invention of wheel. Okay? After the invention of wheel. The primitive man used vehicles after the invention of wheel. He started using tame animals, domesticated. Okay, he had some animals, okay, tame animals. And my dear student, these tame animals he was using to run the vehicles. Okay, so here he started using tame animals for running vehicles. Got it? So after the invention of wheel, he got the idea about vehicles, and which what he was doing? He was using tame animals, okay, for running vehicles. Now next question is, in which caves? In which caves the paintings of wild animals, the paintings of wild animals seen? Okay, my dear student, I say when I explain the chapter, I say from the caves of Madhya Pradesh and South Uttar Pradesh. From the caves of Madhya Pradesh and South Uttar Pradesh, we got the proof. Okay, so answer in sorry question, in which caves the paintings of wild animals seen? My dear student, the paintings of wild animals are seen in the caves of Madhya Pradesh and South Uttar Pradesh. Thank you.